Hi, Ken, Cheryl, and Catherine. It's Dr. Cairns with some verbal feedback to go along with the rubric. This is an interesting paper diagnosis on an organization that I'm a part of. So that's kind of fascinating. Let me start with the end first, which is your individual reflections on working together on a group assignment. And I want to say just a couple things. One, and maybe I should lead a little more when I give directions, because in organizations today, you've heard of remote work and you've heard of telecommuting, but when it comes to an online class, most students don't approach an online class as though they're working remotely when it comes to group assignments. Thus, doing FaceTime or Zoom or Google Hangout or other ways to go face to face, most times students don't do that. And I know that that's why you like being in an asynchronous setting. But just something to think about when it comes to working in an organization in business, because you will have employees that are not all situated where you are, and you'll be leading remote employees. So this has been a good learning experience from the standpoint of being a team member, and then when you get a chance to lead. You did a good job on your abstract, setting the stage, and your executive summary was very well written, gave me really good information on what you were doing and how you were addressing it. And then when we got into, giving an introduction, and you got good survey feedback and results. And I liked your giving some definitions. I liked you identifying the methodology and just identifying what gave cause for concern, a score above 4, that sort of thing. So your table 1-1, just to think about that, is you should label or name the table. And name the table. That could be like another game show. And it's also helpful to see that there's a story behind the story. So some of the individual questions, there may be some questions that drove those averages. So something to think about when you go looking and drilling down on data. So you had a variety of different ways to look at that. Also, when it came to your SWOT analysis, which you did a really good job of correlating that to the results of the survey and incorporating individual items in that, from that, the content items, that might be another place to include another table. So just something to think about, because when it comes to giving a visual for an individual, that helps them understand your data even better. Good incorporation of additional research as well, supporting your findings and your opinions. When it came to your graph, your image 1-1, same sort of thing. It's a graphic pictation, which I liked how you highlighted that, but also, you need to make sure how it kind of flows. So it took me a second to realize that S meant strengths and relationships, dedicated employees. Those were, I think, the correlation to strengths as well. And so just something to think about. But I like that graph, again, labeling it and numbering it would be helpful. Good organization diagnosis and recommendations, again, flowing from the information, the quantitative and qualitative information that you received. And then when I jump into your, just scanning ahead a little bit more to your appendixes, and it relates to the QDC scores and bar chart. Again, that's another item where you could have maybe included something that would have given a little more detail that might have been driving some of those. Like, for example, rewards was a problem. So I'm assuming all 5 questions were a problem. And leadership, the same sort of thing, but just to kind of look at that aspect. Again, your reflections indicated to me that it was a good learning experience for you. What I know Dr. Helm Stevens knows, I teach this course and I incorporate it, and she does sometimes teach org behavior as well, or high performance management. So I don't know who you got approval to do this with, and if it was Roxanne. I'd recommend you give her a copy of this paper, and or whoever it was that you got the approval to go ahead and survey. So that way they can use this additional information. It'd be helpful on some of the things that you recommended. So thanks for a great assignment, for the effort that you put into it, and a great learning experience for you and for me. So see the rubric for continued improvement.